Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I am Brady and today I will be bringing you a video showcasing my entire collection. I'm actually surprised that I got everything on the table. I actually have a lot that's not on the table, but I'll show you that later. Nothing from my pile of shame is on this table. Actually, I lied. There's like 2 or 3 units on this table that are from my pile of shame. But overall, the majority of this is all painted, based, and finished. All have varying different degrees of artisticness. I don't know how to word myself. Some of it looks better than others is what I'm trying to say. Because I've been playing this game for about 3 years, so this is my collection over 3 years. And I used to be really bad at painting, and I've gotten better over the years. And then some of this stuff I haven't painted either because I bought it online or from a friend or something like that. So yeah, I guess I'll go over each army, the history of when I bought it, why I bought it, and how everything came to be, and then afterwards I'll show you guys my pile of shame, which is a very, 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 very large pile of shame. So yeah, I don't know how many points this is altogether. I didn't calculate that, but I'm going to assume it's a lot. It's a lot of points. So I got everything organized out here by army with codexes and everything, so let's get into it. Before we get into the main topic of this video and I show you guys my collection, this video was sponsored by themagnetbaron.com. They offer magnets of all sizes. They have magnets for magnetized flight stands. They offer magnets for magnetized army trays, and even offer pre-built and magnetized models, all for a great price. So if you're looking for anything magnet related for your hobby, check out themagnetbaron.com. The link will be in the description. So the first army that we're going to start with was the first army that I started the game with, which was Khorne Daemonkin back in 7th edition. So all of this stuff, the Khorne Demons, alongside all of the Chaos Space Marines, was all part of Khorne Daemonkin. But then, with the arrival of 8th edition, Khorne Daemonkin was deleted out of the game, and now we just have Chaos Demons and Chaos Space Marines. So you can still play the same army in a way, except it's not as fun because you don't get any Blood Tithe points. Blood Tithe points were broken as crap, and they were fun as crap because the more you killed stuff and the more of your stuff died, so as long as anything died on the field, it doesn't matter whose stuff it is, which is very fluffy. Khorne cares not where the blood flows as long as the blood flows. You would get these things called Blood Tithe points. And with the Blood Tithe points, you could spend them on buffing your whole army, either giving them like more attacks, making them fearless, or even summoning demon princes or a Bloodthirster. It was amazing, I loved it, and I really do miss it. But with the way 8th edition works now and having to pay for your summoned stuff and everything, I don't think it would work nearly as well. Maybe the Blood Tithe table would still work by like buffing your army with attacks and everything like that, but when it comes to summoning in stuff, that was deleted out of the game basically. So now we are left with Chaos Demons and Chaos Space Marines. So once my army technically got deleted out of the game, I had to figure out something. So that's where I came up with the story of the Red Legion, which is what I call my Chaos Warband. And the reason I went with the Red Legion is, well, because they're red. And I didn't necessarily like World Eaters. I didn't want to play just a Khorne army because I will admittedly, after playing this army for about 2 years, I got kind of bored of being Khorne only with no psychic powers, no nothing, and all I ever did was charge people, and I wanted a little bit of more shooting in my life. So I decided to go with the Red Legion and called them as such, and now they are Slaanesh and Khorne Warband, which a lot of people, especially people that watch my mini gaming bat reps, they're like, that's not fluffy, there's no way there'd be a Khorne and Slaanesh Warband and blah blah blah, but it's the way I feel about it is it's my army, it's my fluff, I can do whatever I want and have fun with it. At the first tournament that I ever attended, and it was a tournament that I won, it was a 20-person tournament at my locals, and I ended up winning, but they were including, this was in a time where they were including your hobby score into your overall game score. And so I needed to have a hobby score, which included I needed a backstory and a name for my army. And so that's where, on the spot, I was just thinking, I was like, because the guy asked, he's like, so what's your army called? And I was like, the Red Legion, because I just thought of Black Legion and was like, hey, well, just throw in red in there. And he's like, oh, very cool. He's like, what's the fluff of your army? And I was like, well, they're a Slaanesh and Khorne Warband, and they were formed because of a female demon prince that happens to be Slaanesh and Khorne which I didn't have a story for her at the time. I was literally making this all up on the fly. And was like, yeah, and so they all follow her because she has, like, a power over them because they're all, like, they're basically, like, brainwashed by her, and they love her so much that they're willing to do whatever, and they even don't necessarily care about the Chaos Gods. They only care about their queen. And the guy ate it all up, and he's like, this is awesome. I love this lore. He's like, yeah, okay, you got a 8 out of 10 for your narrative part of your army. I was like, oh, sweet, okay. So yeah, that's how the Red Legion kind of came to be, and then after that, I just kind of liked the idea, and I went with it, and now I have a whole backstory and everything, which you guys will find out within the next couple of months. Once I do I'm starting a campaign on the channel, and it's going to be a narrative campaign. I know that's completely different than what this channel's used to putting out, but I think it'll be fun to have to get away from competitive for a little bit and show the other side of the hobby, which is the narrative stuff. So yeah, you guys can look forward to that. I'm going to have that coming out in the next coming months. Still preparing for it. I need a lot more terrain because the only terrain I have, I'll show it over here. That's all the terrain I have, and it's basically just a bunch of ruins and stuff. So I need some stuff like hills and mountains and trees and just stuff to make it look like a different scene. I can change up the map every game, but I can't change up the terrain, so eventually that's going to have to change. But anyways, that's enough about the little history of the army. Sorry it took so long, but now let's actually show you the units. So I have a Bloodthirster of Insensate Rage. My sister actually bought this for me within the first 6 months of me playing the game because she was happy that I was finally getting out of the house and stuff. Because I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but I suffered with depression for a very long time, and I never left my house. So my mom and my sister were both telling me, you need to get a hobby, you need to go out and make some friends, you need to do some stuff because you're getting in a bad place. And so that's when I picked up Warhammer 40k, and since then I've had a lot of friends, I've become a very social person, and yeah, I'm no longer in that bad state that I once was, and it's all thanks to Warhammer 40k. So yeah, my sister bought me this guy because she was so proud of me for getting out of the house and doing stuff. Then I also have a Demon Prince right here that I bought and painted, and a dragon thing. I believe his name is like Asmodon or something from Dungeons and Dragons. My grandma actually bought me that for $1 at a yard sale. She's like, can you use this in your game? And I was like, yeah, that's a Demon Prince. I could use that. Why not? So in the tournament that I actually won, I actually used that guy. I used both of these guys, both Demon Princes, in the tournament that I won originally, which ended up jump-starting my channel. Once I won that tournament, I realized, hey, I'm pretty decent at this game. I might as well teach some people. And the ball got rolling from there. So then after that, we have a Skull Cannon, which is okay, but not that great. We have some Blood Crushers that are all missing their swords or something because transporting these guys is a nightmare and they always break. We have 20 Bloodletters. I do own 30, but 10 of them are in my pile of shame. 2 Spawns and 20 Khorne Fleshhounds. Those are not the correct Fleshhound models. These are conversions, I guess, or counts as. They're actually Vampire Count Direwolves from Warhammer Fantasy, or now Age of Sigmar. But I went with these guys because they're just so much cheaper than the regular Fleshhounds. Because I believe it's like $70 for 5 Fleshhounds, or $30 for 10 of these guys. So just to save money and stuff, I went with them instead. So that would be all the Khorne Demon parts of my old Khorne Daemonkin army, or now Red Legion army. Then we have the characters. So, my first character ever was this guy. I remember showing up to a game to learn. Just showed up to my club day, or found out there was a club day, and came in and was like, hey, can someone teach me the game? Someone's like, yeah, sure, here, throw your stuff on the table and we'll play. And I didn't have an HQ. I believe I had like some Berserkers and stuff, which you won't see on this table because they're still in my pile of shame. But yeah, so I didn't have an HQ, so the guy's like, you need an HQ. Here, come over to this box of pre-painted stuff and see if you can find one. And I got this guy for 15 bucks. So I didn't paint him. He was my first HQ ever, and I used him and only him for like the first year of playing this game until I ended up getting some more characters. But yeah, that guy, yeah, he was my first character I ever bought. So then moving on, we have a Chaos Lord or Chaos Sorcerer on a bike. We have Chaos Lord, which these are the 2 most recent characters I made. You can tell because they're painted a lot better than the other ones around here. But yeah, there's my Chaos Lord, a Sorcerer. We have another Chaos Lord. We have a Chaos Lord or Sorcerer in Terminator armor. We have a Chaos Lord or Sorcerer. We have a Chaos Lord. And we have a Chaos Lord on Juggernaut. This is a Age of Sigmar or fantasy model, so I don't like using it that often. But I didn't feel like paying like $100-something to convert a Space Marine guy just to be able to sit on the Juggernaut when I could just buy this guy for $50 and he accomplished the same thing. So that's why I went with that model instead. We have 3 Terminators, and the reason I only have 3 is because back in 7th edition you could actually use units of 3 guys. So when I bought these, I ended up only using them from the Dark Vengeance box and a couple of models that I got for free from other people that just didn't want them anymore. And so yeah, this is all I had. I had this guy that I built to be a character, and then those 3 that I built just to be able to play a unit of Terminators. We then have the second unit I ever bought, which is a unit of bikes, which is in the middle, but then again from the Dark Vengeance box, I ended up getting these bikes that are on the ends, and I ended up using that bike to make a character, because you got 3 bikes from the Dark Vengeance set. Of course they're Dark Angels, but Dark Angels are chaos anyways, right guys? So yeah, anyways, that's my my bikers. And then we have the Dreadknots. So, well, I guess Hellbrutes, Dreadknots, Chaos Dreadknots, whatever you want to call them. So that's one from the Dark Vengeance box. Those 4 I bought individually before they added the rule of 3. I actually bought them in 8th edition and was spamming them and was even looking at going to buy a 5th one. But then the rule of 3 kicked in, and now one of these guys is never going to be used again. And then we have the Deradeo Dreadnought, or the Dorito Dreadnought as I like to call him. I just bought him last Christmas, I believe. Finally got him painted up and stuff, brought him to mini wargaming, it was fun. And then we have Old Faithful back here. This Land Raider was given to me for free because you can see the state that it's in. It's not in the best condition. It's missing some parts and everything else. And yeah, I got it for free alongside with a couple of these Terminators from a buddy of mine. He gave it to me for free because I ended up getting his Blood Angel army sold, and he was really happy about that because no one was buying the Blood Angels, and I found someone to buy them, so he felt very grateful and decided to give me some stuff he had lying around. So the reason I call this Old Faithful is because back in 7th edition and early 8th edition, this Land Raider put in a lot of work. This Land Raider was actually used in the tournament that I got in first place at the beginning of 8th. But keep in mind, too, it was the beginning of 8th edition, and hardly anyone had a clue about what they were doing. So Land Raider ended up being pretty good because I ended up lowering my drops, being able to get first turn more often because I shoved a bunch of characters and stuff inside of that. And yeah, it was great. So yeah, that's Old Faithful. Then we have a Vindicator, which was originally in the Grey Knight army, but Grey Knights don't have Vindicators anymore, so it's now in the Chaos army. Then we have 2 Rhinos, which, as you can see from the Rhinos and the 2 demon vehicles ahead, I painted them black because I originally had the idea that all my vehicles were going to be black and gold, while all the infantry was going to be red and gold. I've since then changed my philosophy on that. As you can see with all the Hellbrutes, I ended up making them all red anyways. But yeah, that was originally what it was, and also because I wanted my Defiler to look as close to Deafy as possible from mini wargaming, because Dave has been a real inspiration to me, and he's the main reason why I even played this army. Because if you guys don't remember, when Khorne Daemonkin first came out, Dave was all over that stuff, and he was playing Khorne Daemonkin almost non-stop. And that's what made me fall in love with the army, so it's all thanks to Dave that I actually play this army. So yeah, we have Deafy number 2, or the Defiler. And then we have my Helldrake, which recently broke, and I've been too lazy to glue back together. But I do have a Helldrake. It is equipped with a Baleflamer. And then we have the Infantry. I have a bunch of Chaos Space Marines and a bunch of, I guess, Havocs or just Chaos Space Marines with special or heavy weapons. And then we have a bunch of Cultists. I believe it's like 50 or 60. I don't know if you guys want to pause the video and count. Feel free, but I didn't feel like counting. These are all the autogun ones. These are a couple of close combat ones. And then the guys at the front are the special and heavy weapons, and also the guys that I use as my champions. I put Imperial Guard as the champions for the units with autoguns because the fluff for my army is we're Chaos Guard and Chaos Marines all together in one super faction, because our Red Queen started out as a guardsman, and she ended up being imbued with power by the Chaos Gods and turned into a giant demon prince. And yeah, so that's why I have the guardsmen as my sergeants or champions, however you want to look at it. I have a bunch of cultists that are close combat weapons as well, but they're in my pile of shame, so you guys will see that at the end of the video. But yeah, there's all my cultists. And the thing is, too, is I'm not even done fighting cultists. Eventually, this pile is going to be about like twice, if not 3 times as big as it is, because a new chaos list I'm working on, I think it has 40, 80... it has 240 cultists. So yeah, that's the next list I'm working on for my competitive, and yeah, it's gonna cost a lot of money and a lot of time and effort painting these little guys. But we'll get to that eventually. So I believe that covers the Chaos Demons and Chaos Space Marines that I own. And so now let's move on to a much smaller army that we'll get past really quick. So Craft Worlds. The only reason I own these guys is because I can use them as allies with my Drukhari, which we'll talk about after. So I bought these guys mainly for competitive, because if you guys didn't know, or I'm sure you have, because I've said it in multiple videos, because I'm super proud of it, but I placed second at an ITC Major last month in June, and I did it using Eldari, so Drukhari with these guys. And the whole reason I bought them was just for that tournament. I know a lot of people might not like that, because they think like you should be loyal to one army and play it all the time. But in competitive, if you want to be dedicated to competitive, you can't do that. You can't play one army all the time. I know I said, especially in my recent videos, that any army has a chance to win a tournament, but that's the thing. They have a chance to do it, but some armies have a greater chance than others. That's the whole reason why the tier list exists. That's why some armies are stronger than others. So, like, yes, Drukhari is strong. They are, like, the strongest army in the game right now. Same with Eldar. Eldar is really strong. They're one of the stronger armies in the game right now. Chaos. Chaos is pretty strong. They're one of the stronger armies in the game, but I don't think they're as strong as either of these guys. Which, again, this is why the tier list is in play. Because some armies do have small inherent advantages over other armies. So I ended up picking the army that I thought would end up doing the best, mainly because of a surprise factor, because they were so new, not a lot of people would know how to deal with them, and also because after reading the rules, they just seemed really strong. Because, like, Drukhari, well, I'll get into it later, but, like, the army just countered a lot of what was happening in the meta, so that's why I went with them. But anyways, so Craft Worlds. We have a Warlock on bike, a Farseer on bike, which I believe it's like Warlock, Skyrunner, and Farseer, Skyrunner, and then 3 units of Rangers. That's it. It's just a tiny battalion to add as an allied force to my Drukhari. So that is the Craft Worlds that I own. And I am in the future going to eventually build a full Craft Worlds army, but it's low on the priority list. I have other things I want to do first, like finishing my Chaos army. Well, not finishing, but I mean adding more to my Chaos army, because you've probably heard this from other people. You're never finished with an army. You're just not. You can always buy more and more and more stuff. Unless, of course, because of the rule of 3, unless you have like 3 of each unit in the game now, and that's literally all you can have, then yeah, maybe you could have a finished army. But I don't have that yet. I don't have 3 Land Raiders. I don't have 3 Rhinos. Well, Rhinos are dedicated transport, so that doesn't matter. But yeah, so your army's never technically finished. So let's move on then. Grey Knights. So this army, oh yeah, so these guys was like the last army that I bought. Grey Knights would be the 3rd army I bought alongside of the Space Wolves. I bought them both at the same time off of the same person. I have a friend who's named Travis, and he lives in, I believe it's Mississippi, I can't remember. But I met him on League of Legends a long time ago, and we've been very, very, very close friends for like the last 5 years. And I ended up getting him into Warhammer, and once he got into it, he realized, oh crap, I have no one locally to play with. So he ended up only playing on Tabletop Simulator with me for a long time, and these guys just kind of sat around collecting dust. So I just gave him a proposal one day. I was like, hey, why don't you sell me your 2 armies, which were the Space Wolves and the Grey Knights. I was like, yeah, why don't you sell me these armies? And he's like, alright, I'll give them to you for like $700. I was like, well, why don't you give me the best friend discount and you give them to me for like $400. And he didn't like it, but he ended up doing it, and so I ended up getting all of these Grey Knights right here, plus all of these Space Wolves for about $400. And yeah, I'd say that was a win. So for the units, we have all these characters over here, which all have Thunder Hammers, or Demon Hammers, I guess they're called. We have a bunch of strike squads, or purifiers, or interceptors, or whatever the hell you want to use them as. Then we have some more Terminators or Paladins, depending on whatever you want to use them as well, all with a different assortment of weapons. We have a Rhino, we have a Razorback with last cannons, we have 2 Dreadknots, each with a Psy Cannon and Heavy Incinerator. We have a Dreadnought with a Power Fist and last cannon, but honestly, every time I use them, I take off the Power Fist and I replace them with one of these missile launchers because that's the loadout I like the best. And then we have a Land Raider Crusader, and that should be it for the Grey Knights. I do have a couple other things of Grey Knights, like another Nemesis Dreadmaster. I have Voldus, and I believe a couple other things, but they're all in my pile of shame. So this is what I have painted, built, and based. And again, I didn't paint any of this, I didn't base any of this, except for the Razorback. That Razorback right there, that's all me. Everything else was painted by whoever painted it that sold it to my buddy. Because the buddy that I told you about, he ended up buying it off of eBay. And same thing with this army. Except this whole army he bought in one go, whereas the Space Wolves, he bought piece by piece, which is why a lot of the units don't like match each other and stuff, which we'll get into in a minute. But yeah, so that's going to be the Grey Knights that I own. Then let's move on to the third army that I ever purchased, which was Thousand Suns. So yeah, Chaos would have been my first army. Then the second army would be Thousand Suns. And then the third army would be Grey Knights and Space Wolves, since I bought them at the same time. And then fourth and fifth, or I guess fourth at the same time, would be these guys and these guys. I also used to own Blood Angels a long time ago, but I sold them before 8th edition. Because they used to be garbage in 7th edition. They literally just collected dust. But now they're really good, and I really regret it. But anyways, getting back on topic, Thousand Suns. So we have 5 characters here that can be used as either sorcerers or exalted sorcerers. We have Magneto himself, or Magnus is the proper name for him. We have some special weapons for the rubrics, and we have the rubrics. Originally, I was going to go with this gold paint scheme and just leave it as is because I don't necessarily like the painting aspect of this hobby. I just like playing with the models. But after looking at it, now that I do battle reports and stuff, I'm eventually going to take the time to finish these models and paint in all the rest of it, just like the normal Thousand Suns scheme, because I think they would look so much better. And right now, they almost just kind of look like statues with how gold they are. Like, they don't, like... They look okay, but I mean, they could look a lot better, so I'm going to take the time to do that eventually. So that's all I have for the Thousand Suns. I am going to collect more of them eventually too, though. The 2 armies I'm working on next are the Thousand Suns and my Red Legion, because I can play them alongside of each other because they're both Chaos armies. So that's my Thousand Suns. Then we have the Space Wolves, which has these cool looking guys who I use as like my characters. We have this unit of, I don't know, Marines or Long Fangs, whatever you want to use them as. Same thing with those guys. Then we have some Devastators back here, all with some heavy bolters and stuff. And here's my favorite guy. This guy looks hilarious. Look at it, he's just holding things bigger than he is. He's such a bro being able to hold this huge thing. But I love this model, it looks hilarious. But yeah, that's just an assortment of different heavy weapons. Then we have some characters over here, just some random ones. Then we have Wolf Cav. We have these, which are Dungeons and Dragons models, but they basically have like the same size base and everything. So I use them as Thunderwolf Cav with Chainsword and Storm Shield, just because it kind of looks like that. Like the the Chainsword just gives them extra attacks and has no AP, so it kind of makes sense. And then the Storm Shield is just, I don't know, because they're resilient, because they're giant dogs. Then we have some Terminators, which are painted really, really, really nicely. And then a couple of my Pile of Shame models, but a lot of Thunderwolf Cavalry or Wolf Lords on Thunderwolves, depending on how you want to use it. I also have a Vindicator and a Land Raider Crusader. And kind of like the Grey Knights, because I bought them off my friend, I did not paint any of these models whatsoever. But when I do eventually finish off this army, because this is another project I'm going to have, is I'm going to try to finish off the Space Wolves and make a competitive list with them eventually. I'm going to paint them in this scheme, because I think that looks the best out of all of them. It reminds me of like a normal Space Wolf scheme, and yeah, I really like it, so that's what I'm going to go with. And the majority of this stuff I'm probably never going to use, to be honest with you, which is why you've never seen it in a battle report, why you hardly ever see me talk about it. Because this army is literally just a random bunch of crap. It's not that good. Like, I got some scouts. I got mostly all Marines, and you guys know how not that good Marines are in this edition. So this army really isn't all that great. And especially because it doesn't have a codex, it's hard to use. But I don't have any of, like, the good units, like Wolfen and stuff like that. I just have a bunch of random crap and a bunch of Marines. So yeah, that's the Space Wolf army. Again, didn't paint it, didn't paint that, but everything else I painted, like the Thousand Suns, all the Chaos, everything else. And then we have the final army to talk about, which is my Drukhari, which is slowly growing to be my favorite army. I think I still will always prefer my Chaos, but Drukhari is a damn close second, because they're basically like Chaos Marines, but Eldar. I know lore-wise it's not necessarily how it is, but that's just what they remind me of. They're the evil Eldar. Kind of like these guys are supposed to be the evil Marines, depending on who you ask. Magnus did nothing wrong. Anyways, so these guys, yeah, have a bunch of Venoms. I do have other vehicles as well. They're just not painted. They're in the pile of shame. And then I have a bunch of Cabalites. There's the Blasters. There's the regular Splinter Weapons. There's the Cyberites. And there are the Archons with the 2 makeshift Lamians. And then I also have 2 Razorwing Jet Fighters that are equipped with Dark Lances and Twin Splinter Cannon. And yeah, that's going to be the Dark Eldar army. It's pretty simple. That's what it is. I use them as Blackheart because I think Blackheart is the best for competitive. I could power game it even more and put like Cabal of the Flayed Skull Cabalites inside of Blackheart Venoms. But I haven't tried to game the system that much. I think using just pure Blackheart is good enough. Again, you could optimize it more, but I don't see a need to. Unless you're going super power gamey, but yeah. So yeah, this is the most recent army I bought, and like I said, I bought it because it pretty much countered the majority of the meta at the time. Because if you look at this army, it just puts out like so much anti-infantry. So much. And the majority of our meta for a while has been all infantry armies. So I ended up countering the meta pretty well, and because the meta hasn't shifted yet, people are still playing the same armies over and over and not changing their list very much in order to counter Drukhari. Drukhari is still doing amazingly well. So again, just to like clarify, because my last video saying that Drukhari is an OP, I still feel that way because apparently I have a very different definition of overpowered than most people have. Apparently people think something like, and again, this is subjective, so it's not up to me to define overpowered. You can define it as whatever you want. But it seems a lot of people think overpowered is just, it's stronger than the other armies. I don't agree with that being overpowered. I just think that means they're strong. I have a different definition for that. And by all means, this army is really strong. They're stronger than a lot of the meta armies, which is again why we have a tier list, and again why they're at tier 1 compared to stuff that's like Space Wolves that are like tier 4 or garbage. But yeah, so there's no doubt, I will not deny that Drukhari is probably the strongest army out there right now. But again, I don't want to say, I don't like using the word overpowered because it has such a negative meaning to it that it makes people think like, oh, overpowered, it can't be beaten, it's broken. That's how I always assumed the word overpowered was, which is why I was so upset when people were calling it overpowered, because I assumed they meant you literally couldn't beat it and that it was unbeatable. But I guess that's not the definition most people use. Just like how I have a different definition for a whack player when it all costs player. Yeah, it's just everybody has different opinions on things, and yeah, that's about it. But yeah, so the army, really strong. Same thing with Craft Worlds, they're really strong. So those are the most recent armies I bought. That is my collection for everything that I have painted, which I didn't mention, by the way, but the whole reason I'm making this video is because I had to clean my shelves that I had my armies on, and once I got them off the shelf and onto the table, I kind of figured, hey, might as well make this video because it's been requested quite a few times. So yeah, that is my whole collection when it comes to my painted models and units, and now let's get into my pile of shame. So first off, let's start right here. I'm organizing my shelf as well. As you can see, it's pretty messy other than like that shelf right there. But I have to organize my stuff today, which is why this whole video is getting made, because everything's off the shelf and organized. Anyways, this is a bag of Tyranids. Can't really see it, but it's got like some gaunts in there. It's got some random crap. It's all not painted, or if it is painted, it's got like 2 things of paint on it that are like way too thick. And it's, yeah, they're not good. I'm probably never going to use them. I think I'm going to end up giving them to my buddy because he's starting an army pretty soon. But yeah, so we have that. And the whole reason I even have them is because when I bought all this GW terrain, I found it on Kijiji, which is like the Canada's version of eBay. And some dude was mad at his kid for not doing his homework, so he was selling all of his Warhammer stuff, which was a bunch of this terrain down here and all that Tyranid stuff. And I got it for $50. So, yeah, I was pretty happy about that. I'm sure the kid was pretty pissed, but, man, whatever. The dad was selling it. If somebody's going to get it, might as well be me, right? So then, right here, I've got 3 boxes of Drukhari Ravagers. And the reason they're not put together is because originally when I bought my Drukhari list, I went overboard and I bought a bunch of stuff. Some of the stuff you're going to end up seeing on the pile of shame. And the reason I bought so much is because I didn't know exactly what kind of list I wanted, and because I wanted to test a bunch of stuff before I went to the tournament. So I bought a bunch of stuff and then ended up not even using the Ravagers. I ended up proxying these Raiders I have back here as the Ravagers, and I just didn't like them. I wanted to go with a more Venom force with blasters and stuff, and I figured that was good enough. But yeah, so I have 3 Ravagers here. I'm actually giving these to Ryan. Well, not like to keep, but I'm giving them to Ryan that you've seen on the battle report, and I'm paying him to build them for me. Because once you see my pile of shame and how much I have to build and paint, yeah, you'll understand why I'm going to pay people to start building and painting this stuff for me. But yeah, so let's move on. So let's go to the real pile of shame over here. So we got 2 Raiders that are primed but not painted. We got, I think, 6 Reaver jet bikes that are not even primed. We have 5 Scourges, and there's more down below in boxes that aren't finished. We have another Venom. So I actually have 10 Venoms. Well, actually I have 11 because there's another one down there as well, which we'll get into in a minute. There's another Venom. There's 5 more Cabalite Warriors. There's a random Scout here that came from my Blood Angel army that I sold a long time ago. Apparently I lost this guy in a box and just found him the other day, so he's there. We have Voldus, which was given to me from my buddy Brandon, so thank you, Brandon. I appreciate it. Because he bought the box that came with Cypher and Gilliman, and he didn't need Voldus, so he gave away Voldus to me because he likes me and my channel. And then we have a bunch of Chaos Cultists. These are all the close combat ones that I have yet to paint. Then we have, if you can see it in there, we have some Brimstones with a Changeling. I bought them like 2 weeks before the nerf came in. And yeah, they haven't been primed or painted because I've seen no reason to use them anymore. I think they're still viable. It's just the list I was going for isn't... I found better versions, like using Cultists. So that's why I've been sticking with the Cultists from now, or for the last little bit. Then we have 10 more Bloodletters, which are not primed or painted. We have, I believe... I know it's kind of hard to see back here because it's too dark, but we'll try to make it work. So back in the very far back is a bunch of Possessed, which I bought back when I played Khorne Daemonkin back in 7th, and found out Possessed were garbage, and so I never painted them. I just primed them, and that was it, because I primed them, used them in like 3 games, and decided, yeah, these guys aren't that good. Then in front of the Possessed, you can see like right here, I got some more Terminators from the Dark Vengeance box that I'm going to paint up as to fit my Red Legion again. So I think I got like 2 of them in there, and then I got a bunch of Havocs, which I bought the Devastator Marine boxes because I think the Heavy Bolters and stuff, like the kit is just, it's newer than the Havocs, and you get way more weapon options in the Devastator box, so I bought them, used some leftover like shoulder plates and helmets and stuff to make them look a little more chaosy. But yeah, so those are going to be eventually Havocs for my Chaos army. They all have Heavy Bolters, by the way, because I think Heavy Bolters are a pretty decent option for Havocs. It keeps them cheap, and they're really good anti-infantry, and with Veterans of the Long War, they're good chip damage against vehicles and such. We have a Chaos Lord over here, which is a Jump Pack, and Plasma Pistol, and Power Fist. He's basically my Smash Captain, but for Chaos. He hasn't seen much play, though. I also have a Tech Marine, or the Chaos equivalent. What's it called? I forget, but it's a Chaos Tech Marine. I forget exactly what his name is. And then we have about 15 or 16 Berserkers, all with chain swords and chain axes. This was like the first unit I ever bought. I bought 1 box of it and then bought a couple off of eBay. And I had them for a long time, but because they were my first unit ever, I painted them like garbage. I had no idea what I was doing. The paint went on too thick. They just didn't look all that right. So about 6 or 7 months ago, I threw them in some green stuff, I think that's what it's called, and got them stripped. So I'm eventually going to paint them again. I just haven't found the time to paint them because my priorities for painting is stuff that I'm going to use either on battle reports or in tournament. And the Berserkers, they're okay. Like, you can use them in Alpha Legion and have them infiltrate and stuff like that, but I think you're betting too much on going first. And if you don't go first and you paid the command point and paid for a bunch of Berserkers, then you just wasted a bunch of points and your strategy's out the window. So that's why I haven't gotten around to painting them. So that's all of the models I have put together that are in my pile of shame. And then we go down here. And I'm going to have to crouch down for this. But we have another Farseer or Warlock, because originally in the list I was going to have 2 Warlocks, but it ended up going down to 1. We also have, nope, that's the Warlock, I believe, or leftover pieces from the last Warlock. We have another Venom, so this is why I have 11, because I have another one here that I haven't built or put together yet. So I think I have enough that are in that scheme. I'm going to paint some that are going to match, like a witch cult. I'm going to start a witch cult soon. I'm going to make it fluffy and make them actually go on their own Venoms and stuff. Unless I'm playing competitively, in which case they're going in Blackheart. I have another, I have another 10 more Flesh Hounds, or I guess they were Vampire Count Direwolves that I never got around to building. I've had these since I bought the Flesh Hounds like 2.5 years ago. So, yeah, it's been that long since I put them together. Because I figured I wanted 30, but then 20 ended up being enough. I have, underneath that is some, what are the jump pack guys for Chaos called? Warp Talons or Raptors. Either Warp Talons or Raptors, depending on how you want to build them. That's what I have under that. That's for that box. What's this guy? This is a Herald of Corn, or a, I forget what they're called now, but they changed their name for 8th edition. Yeah, I forget. But yeah, it's a Herald of Corn. Then over here, we have some witches, which are, I only have, I think, 8 left in there, because I used parts for 2 of them to build the Laymians. I have another box of 5 Scourges. I have another Grandmaster and Nemesis Dreadknight armor, and I'm glad I didn't go overboard and buy, like, multiple of these guys, because now you're only allowed 3, so I'm glad I only have 3. And then we have the leftover horrors that we have in there, because I only built the Brimstone ones, I didn't build the blue ones. And then underneath them, let's move this stuff out of the way, we have bits and lots of bits that I have yet to take out and put inside all of my bins. I used to play competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, so I have a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh bins that I keep all of my bits in, like the different heads and shoulder pads and stuff like that. Which there's a lot of them. They're all packed up in the back there. But yeah, I have, like, they're all organized, so there's like Drukhari pieces with Drukhari and Chaos pieces with Chaos and whatnot. And yeah, that's going to be the showcase of everything I own. So again, this is all the stuff that I actually have built and painted that I can play with. This is my pile of shame, which I guess it's pretty big, but in comparison to everything I have built and painted, it's not that big, I guess. Also forgot to mention I have a Forge Fiend back here that I'm probably never going to use. And then, oh yeah, and there's one other thing. It's inside this box. You guys probably can't tell what it is, but this is something very, very, very special that I bought the other day. And I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it is going to be part of the narrative campaign. And it is going to be part of my army. If you guys can guess what it is, put it down in the comment, and you'll get a prize of me saying you got it. I'm not giving away a prize. But you guys can guess if you want to have fun what that unit is. But yeah, so anyways, thanks for watching this video. Check out my sponsor, which I probably mentioned or clipped into the video earlier, because magnetbaron.com. And yeah, check out some of my other videos if you want to see this. I got a bat rep coming out within the next couple of days, which is going to be Ultramarines versus Drukhari. Hopefully you guys like that one. And yeah, I think that about covers everything. So thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at my collection, and I will see you in the next video. Happy wargaming!